Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar today, product of the Wyoming Women's Business Center. This is our 2019 webinar series, and today's topic is developing content for online marketing. My name is Waldo Smith. I'm of microlending here at the Women's Business Center, and I will be your moderator today. If you'll notice, you should see the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. Please, if you have questions or comments during the presentation, you can enter them in the question or chat panel on that menu. I will be monitoring those today and presenting and passing them on to our presenter as the webinar progresses. We are recording this webinar and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Wyoming Women's Business Center. Make sure you subscribe and check out the other webinars that are on file there. You can also visit our website at www.wyomingwomen.org, and you can look for us on Facebook. As you leave the presentation today, a survey will pop up or will launch on your screen. We ask that you please complete this survey as it provides valuable information to us and our funding partners. And it also gives you an opportunity to suggest future topics for consideration. All participants are muted to minimize background noise, and I will mute my microphone as soon as I'm done here. And so if you have questions or comments, please enter them in the question or chat box. Our presenter today is Christine Langley. She is a business counselor here at the Women's Business Center. She is a sales and marketing expert with 15+ year track record of achievement and demonstrated success driving sales growth in highly competitive markets. In addition to her corporate experience in general management, sales management, and human resources, she is a serial small business entrepreneur and truly understands the joys and challenges associated with business ownership. So with that, I will turn it over to Christine and take it away.
All right, thanks, Waldo. As he said, my name's Christine Langley. We're going to talk about developing content for online marketing today, but we're going to start out just recapping the Wyoming Women's Business Center and understanding a little bit about our services. So our mission is promoting economic equality in the state of Wyoming through successful business ownership. We are a nonprofit organization, and we assist individuals who want to either start a small business or expand their small business right here in the state of Wyoming. And we do that through 3 different programs. The first is business counseling. And so when we talk about business counseling, we're talking about business coaching, motivating, inspiring, teaching, mentoring. We're trying to make business ownership and entrepreneurship not so isolating, which it definitely can be. And so we do that through offering complimentary or free business counseling services. The next program is networking and educational opportunities. This webinar that you're on today is an example of that. We also do monthly roundtables around the state in several different locations where business owners can get together and discuss common issues and resolutions. Online trainings like the one you're listening to today are also available on our YouTube channel at Wyoming's Women Business Center. And then last but not least, our microloan program, which Waldo Smith, that's on the line today, is in charge of. We do microloans anywhere between $500 and $50,000. If you need access to capital and want more information, please feel free to contact Waldo. All right, so after that introduction, we're going to jump right into our webinar today on developing content for online marketing. We've got a robust agenda that includes going over your target audience, specific tips for writing content, platforms for actually publishing that content, and then we'll finish up by talking about steps in building an actual content calendar for your business, and then the top 10 content marketing best practices. And then, of course, if you have questions at the end, we're available for Q&A. All right, so Online Marketing Toolbox 101. I always like to start with your basic toolbox of online marketing because these are truly the must-haves for your business. when it comes to online marketing. If you don't have these things online for your business in 2019, then you're missing out on customer opportunities because they're unable to verify that you actually exist. And then with that, your business is going to lack credibility online, and that impacts your search engine results. So if any of you are missing these 5 tools, I want you to be sure to incorporate them in the development of your marketing plan. So the first one is a mobile-friendly website with a private domain name. Your website is usually going to have 3 to 5 basic pages. The first would be a home page. You may have a product and or services page, an about us page that tells the story of your business, and then a contact us page that has some type of a map location of where your business is located. The second is a Google My Business listing. This is like the online yellow pages, right? If you don't have a business listing on Google My Business, then you don't exist as far as the primary search engine of the world is concerned. And so whenever you have an online business listing, that's called an online citation. And Google My Business is the primary online citation that you need to have. There are hundreds of others, but this is Toolbox 101, so we'll start with just the Google My Business listing. The next is a Facebook business page. This is a 101 item that needs to be there, and that Facebook business page should be linked to your website. The fourth is a LinkedIn personal page. Now, you also have the option of doing the LinkedIn business page, but I always recommend that you do your personal page first that highlights your business as well as your own personal industry experience. Because in many cases, especially for small businesses in Wyoming, your brand is really you. It's about your experience and your expertise. And so you want that LinkedIn personal page that is linked to your business website. And then last but not least, anytime you post anything online, you want professional looking images. Your photos, your logos, any graphics that you use need to be as professional as possible. So that needs to be part of that marketing toolbox that you're developing. So let's launch our first poll just to get a sense of where everybody is at with our basics. And I just want you to answer this question really quick. I have a mobile-friendly website with a private domain. True or false? So I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds, maybe 20 more seconds at this point. We've got a good percentage of the vote coming in at over 60% so far. This should be a pretty easy one to answer for everyone. Is your website mobile friendly? And what I mean by that is when you pull up your website on a mobile device, does it look okay? Is it easy to maneuver? All right. So we've got almost all the answers in. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll and share those results out. So about 75% of you do have a mobile-friendly website, 25% do not, or maybe aren't sure. And so this is something you're going to want to look at with your website provider or domain. Sometimes it's as easy as just clicking a button in order to make that website mobile-friendly. And so look into that and make sure that it is, because that's part of our 101 toolbox. All right. So before we begin listing off content marketing best practices, we really have to stress the first commandment of content marketing, and that is know thy audience. So content marketing, after all, is about building trust and credibility for your business or your brand. And you're never going to succeed if your audience finds your content unrelatable or disingenuous. So when describing your target audience, it's a good idea to describe who your best customer is. And remember, you can have different categories of customers or customer groups. So for example, I used to have a carpet cleaning business, and we had commercial as well as residential customers. So our best commercial customers were those that were on what I called a perpetual cleaning contract. And that meant that they wanted our services monthly or on an ongoing basis. And our best residential customers were actually property managers or real estate investors with multiple rental properties that would require cleaning, like for lease renewals or move-outs. And then lastly, we had sort of an ideal residential customer who was just your basic homeowner, but they really needed to have at least a 3-bedroom house where the fee would be a minimum of $150 to do that service. So I want you to think about your own particular business and who your ideal or best customer is, because that's your target audience when it comes to who you're going to speak to when you're developing content for online marketing. And you're going to want to try to define your audience or best customer, because it's going to give you a picture of who you're speaking to, right? Okay, so to take a little bit of a deeper dive into your target audience, this can involve answering demographic questions. And generally, it's important to understand, the basics: age, job function, industry, also location of your most viable prospect, or your future customers. And so let's take another quick poll just to understand exactly where your customers are located. So answer this question for me. Where are my best customers? Are they within a 10-mile radius of my store or my location? How about a 100-mile radius? Oh, sorry about that typo on my poll there. 100-mile radius of my store location. Are they statewide? Are they all of the USA, because maybe I have an online business and I'm open to attracting anybody? Are they worldwide? Where are your customers located? So give you a few seconds to answer that. This is interesting. Looks like we're kind of all over the map with our attendees today. And we're going to share that out. So a little bit of everything. And that's okay. The important thing is to know what you're trying to target, who you're trying to attract, and who you're speaking to. So that's a great first question that you can ask yourself to describe your target audience. All right, so to drill down even further, we can now get into what we call a buyer persona. And we use these types of questions in order to do that. So beyond just demographic questions, you could ask yourself questions like, are my customers conservative or innovative? Are they leaders or followers? Are they introverted or extroverted? How often do they purchase what I offer? What's the quantity that they buy in? So once you truly understand your customer and the audience you want to attract, now it's time to actually utilize content marketing to draw them into your product. And there's lots of different platforms and tools that you can use that all fall under the broad category of content marketing. And it's really so broad that there's lots of companies that actually employ different people, or they hire services to manage just one or a couple aspects of their content marketing. And so I'm going to review with you today what all of these different platforms are, and how you can potentially do some of this yourself. But I want you to remember that this is an industry in and of itself. So if this feels overwhelming, to you, start with just that Toolbox 101 and the basics in order to get you going. All right, so we all know that content is king when it comes to content marketing. And so with that, let's launch another quick poll, because I want to find out, when was the last time you published new content to your website? It looks like the majority of the people on the call today actually have a website, which is a great first step. That's important in online marketing. And so with that, when's the last time you did anything with that website? Was it within the last week? Was it within the last month? The last 6 months? Was it within the last year? Or truthfully, have you not done anything to it since you originally published it? And no judgment here. These polls are totally anonymous. So answer at will. I've got almost 90% of the vote in. Just going to give you guys a couple more seconds to pick an answer for me. All right, good job. Let's take a look. All right, so 30%, impressive, within the last week, 14% the last month, 29% in the last 6 months. So it looks like in the last week and in the last 6 months is the most common answer. And then we've got 19 and 10% respectively within a year, or I haven't touched it. Again, truthfully, all of these answers are pretty common and pretty normal. And so it's just a matter of deciding for yourself and your own business the level of priority you want to put on content and truly on online marketing. So in order to publish high quality content, these are just some key things that you want to look at and points to remember. So the first is publishing unique content. Every new page of content is a newly indexed page on a search engine. So search engines are essentially these little robots that go around the World Wide Web and they identify all of the information on the web. So if that content is original and it fully satisfies the intent of a question being asked by someone that is searching on a search engine, then those robots go out and your content has a much better chance of being found and your content being presented to the person that's asking the question. So publishing unique content is key. The second is writing for people first. So you need people to actually click on your links and ideally share your content and link it in their own content if you want to build credibility in Google's eyes. So in other words, your content has to actually resonate with real human beings if you want to get it on the first page of a search. So remember that you're always writing for people first. Third is be scientific. So create content based on keyword and topic research. You can use tools like Market Muse and SEMrush to identify the average content depth scores and word counts of the top performing posts on any particular subject. And so you can use related topics to support your primary keywords. And so you don't have to worry about the robots because that's what the keywords are for. So if some of this information is brand new to you, you've never heard of Market Muse or SEMrush, you're confused by the idea of keywords or topic research, I want you to look over to your control panel, and under handouts, you can download a handout that is accompanying this particular webinar. And if anybody is listening to this after the fact on a recording, you're welcome to shoot me an email and I will send you the actual handout so that you have the links. So within that handout, there's a link to Market Muse and to SEMrush, and you can get more information on how to do some of that research so that when you are developing content, you can be scientific. So again, the handout is on your control panel. Next is to use trustworthy links and sources. So all of us have been on websites in the past where we click on a link and it's broken, right? It gives us an error code 404 or whatever number it's going to throw out. So broken links are bad for search engine optimization, and they're really bad if they're on your own business website. So you want to make sure that you're checking regularly that links to pages that are not credible sources of information, are not on your website, and that all of your links work. So if you want to be an authority on a subject, make sure you're using good information from trustworthy content creators, especially if you're using links. And then last but not least, you don't want to ramble. You don't have to be as iconic as Ernest Hemingway when it comes to developing content, but you do want to avoid fluff. So if you're creating a long form blog post, which definitely has its place in content marketing, that would mean that it's like 1,000 words or more. Just make sure that the 1,000 words that you use convey meaningful information. All right, so now that we have a sense of how to write quality content, some of the keys to remember, the next step is to publish that content on various platforms. And the most obvious and original source for content marketing is the blog, right? Blogs have been around for a really long time. There's good blogs, there's bad blogs, but a blog can simply be a page on your website. And most website builders, simple website builders that you can use for a small business, include an option to add a blog page, and that'll help you index your different topics that you write about. So anytime you publish a blog post, you're actually adding brand new content to your website, and that's going to help your search engine rankings. So let's launch another quick poll here just to get a sense of who's got a blog. So do you have a blog? Yes or no? And again, sometimes blogs make sense for small businesses and sometimes they don't. So if you run a very simple small business and there's just not that much to write about, you don't feel like you can be sharing a tremendous amount of information, that's okay. Blogs are not the end all be all for content marketing. It's just really the original source when it comes to content marketing. It's where content marketing got its start, is through blogs. It's where a lot of websites got their starts, right? Was WordPress.com or WordPress.org. Originally, all websites were just blog formats. And now, of course, over the last 20 years, they've gotten a lot fancier. Okay, so when we talk about who's got a blog, who doesn't, we only have 20% of the people on the call today that have a blog, 80% don't. Again, totally fine, no judgment here. Besides posting regularly, if you do have a blog, here's just a couple important things to remember. First is that you really don't want to write in vain. Make sure the topics you cover on your blog are backed up by actual prospect pain points and by keyword research using some kind of an SEO tool like the ones I pointed to. And remember that people don't search for brands, they actually search for answers to specific questions they have. So remember that when you're writing. When it comes to keywords, you want to pick one keyword that you want to rank for, and then write a piece of content that serves as the most awesome resource center available on the web for that specific keyword. Focus on readability. So try to divide your content into concise sections if you can help it. This makes content more digestible for the audience and makes it easier for them to find the information that they're looking for. So you may have seen this on other blog posts that you read. The information is sort of blocked out into paragraphs with like headers or titles, so people can just scan that content for the answers that they're looking to. Again, sort of like breaking up your copy, right? Use bulleted lists, pull quotes, embed social media posts, graphs, charts, videos, any kind of media that can support your text to make a long form blog content seem less intimidating and more engaging for people to read. And then don't be afraid to repurpose content. So anytime you're going to do a blog post or write something at length, you want to maximize the value of that asset, because anything that you write could then be used in more than one format. So try turning that post, that most recent post, into an infographic or an animated video or some type of shorter Facebook post that you could throw up. Using lots of different platforms, but taking that same content and moving it around. All right, another idea for website content, or to add more content to your website, is actually conducting a case study. So especially if your business is selling products, case studies are a chance to show the value of your product in action and can make for really high quality content. So first thing to remember is we always want to use imagery. Pictures add a whole new dimension to a customer case study. So they put faces to people's voices and they provide visual confirmation of what you're talking about in your copy. You also want to try and use the customer's voice. So case studies can be valuable assets, but only if the customer and not the narrator is the center of attention. So you always want your customers to be on display. And prospects, or people that are potentially interested in doing business with you, they want to hear from other people that have used your service or have used your product and what they have to say about it, right? The testimonial or the review is what people are looking for. So quote them directly. And even include a video testimonial if you have that type of resource. If you have a service business, video or written testimonials could be really powerful content that can be on your website. And then again, you can parlay that content into other platforms that you can post. And then avoiding loose ends. So try to keep your case study structure simple. You're going to have a problem, a solution, and list the benefits. So you never want to bring up a problem on your website, even in passing, if you don't intend on explaining how it gets resolved. So avoid those loose ends. And remember, again, anything you publish to your website can be modified to publish to other online platforms. So you don't feel like you're writing, 50 different things for 10 different platforms. Just write high quality content and then figure out how to take it from your website and mold it into usage in these other platforms. All right, email marketing is another content marketing channel or platform, and it typically delivers the highest ROI, which stands for return on investment. The work really comes down to creating that list of people that you're sending your email marketing out to. But first things first, in developing content for an email marketing campaign, you still have to develop a persona of who it is you're talking to. So if you say, I'm talking to males that are 35 to 45, that's not necessarily developing a persona. It needs to be more specific to, than that. I'm speaking to, a man named Kevin that's a 35-year-old mid-level accountant, and he previously showed interest in content about how he can do more work in less time, specifically using computer automation tools. Right? So this gives us a better idea of the type of content Kevin may be interested in reading. And this should go without saying, but any email marketing that you do should use someone's first name in the greeting. And that's just something automated on most email marketing sites that you would use, like Constant Contact. All right, and then nourishing your list growth rate. So I just pointed to this, but you always want to carefully monitor the deliverability rate and get a sense for the health of your email list. So employee turnover is pretty common, and other factors are going to cut down on the size of your audience. So you need to make email capture a priority. This can be a pop-up on your website that asks people to sign up for your, e-newsletter. You can create different online tools on your different platforms in order to capture email addresses. You can even do this in store if you have a brick and mortar location, asking people for their email address, getting your customer emails when you're invoicing them. All of this can be helpful in order to nourish that email list. And then again, last but not least, it's all about mobile. It's been about mobile for a long time, but in 2019, it is absolutely about mobile. Make sure your email marketing is mobile friendly. This is typically just a default in the majority of these programs that we use nowadays, but confirm it. So be mindful of how your content is going to look on a mobile device. And don't use, for example, wide columns that are going to become distorted in appearance on a mobile device, because the vast majority of people are using mobile devices for all content that they read. All right, so let's launch another poll really quick before we dive into the various social media marketing and platforms. And I just want to get a sense of all the different social media platforms you are currently active on for your business. So I just want you to pick all the social media platforms your business can be found. Active might not have been fair. I know some of us have, launched a LinkedIn, page, or did a YouTube channel but never posted anything, or did a Facebook page 2 years ago but haven't touched it and haven't posted anything in 12 months. Again, sometimes we get busy running our actual business and forget to prioritize marketing. So no judgment there. Let's just get a sense of how many different platforms you're on. All right, good job, everybody. Let's share those results. Okay, Facebook is the winner. That's pretty normal. Almost 80% of you can be found on Facebook. And then Instagram is number 2. As many of you know, Facebook now owns Instagram. So Facebook and Instagram are very easy to post to, because you can post to both at one time via their site. Whenever you post something on Instagram, it will ask if you also want to post on Facebook. So that's an easy platform to get what I call a twofer, 2 for 1. Some of you are on Pinterest. Again, some of these sites make more sense for some businesses versus others. About 30% on YouTube, and about half of you on LinkedIn. Again, I feel like LinkedIn is just more of a credibility issue. So I would encourage everybody to get a LinkedIn page to add to your own just personal brand and credibility. So when it comes to social media marketing, you always want to create something that is worth sharing. And you really can't succeed at social media if you're not sharing content, right? So if you never go on and share content, you're not going to succeed. It's like if you don't ask someone to buy, you're going to lose 100% of your sales. So we recommend using social media to promote your own content primarily, but you can also use it to share news and information from credible sources that you think your customers would be interested in. Also, the occasional funny meme or joke is a welcome relief from all the business talk, but you don't want to have too much of a focus on selling your actual product or service. So that's why the content that you create needs to have a nice balance. A second point about social media marketing is just being social. So actually getting user-generated content is the name of the game. And what that means is you actually start conversations with your customers. This can be tough, right? If the only person that is responding to your Facebook posts on your business page is, your mom, that's a problem, right? That's going to hurt our overall search engine, optimization and our credibility online. So you want to try to respond to any post that you're tagged in, and then get creative and find new ways to get people talking about your brand on social media. Ask interesting questions, post polls and things that people can respond to. I previously owned an ice cream company, and we used to post pictures of different flavors while we were baking them or making them in the kitchen, and then ask people to guess what the flavor was. And we always got a high response rate on that. So the best thing about social media is that you can turn your followers into brand advocates if you play your cards right. And so think about ways to actually engage them so that a lot of the content on your social media platforms is coming from your actual customers. Next is using Google Analytics. And so I don't want to get too technical here, but I'm just going to tell you that Google Analytics, you need to be using a UTM code. A UTM code is a simple code that you can attach to a custom URL. Your URL is your domain name for your website. If you attach this UTM code to your domain name or your URL, it will track the source, the medium, as well as a campaign name. So you can actually see how successful your campaign is on your social media platform to see if people are clicking through to your website. All of this can get enabled through Google Analytics, and it can track incoming traffic from any of your paid social media efforts. So if anybody's actually paying for advertising on Facebook, this is how you can track it. UTM actually stands for Erkin Tracking Module. Erkin Software Corporation was acquired by Google in 2005, and their software actually laid the groundwork for what we now know is Google Analytics. So out of all of that, just remember that Google Analytics is something that you need to look into because it can help you understand whether or not the campaigns that you run on social media are being successful or not. All right, last but not least, when it comes to platforms, I want to introduce you to the concept of influencer marketing. So influencers are any media source online that have many followers in common with whoever your target audience is. And influencer marketing is basically the practice of reaching out to online thought leaders in your industry and encouraging them to help promote your business or your brand. And every single industry has influencers online. It's just a matter of finding them and getting in touch with them. So when you get influencers' attention, they'll get your audience's attention. And this is also known as online public relations, right? So back in the day, we used to do PR work trying to get, say, newspapers to write an article about us, or even a magazine to write an article about us. This is the same concept. It's just done online, and it's now called influencer marketing. So the first thing to remember about influencer marketing is don't sell yourself short, right? Your brand can become an influencer just by creating compelling content. So you may become an influencer in your industry all on your own, just by creating compelling content that gets other influencers' attention. And so they may share some of your content and vice versa. So influencing the influencers is one way to do this. And then that way they'll do a lot of the work for you. This is what we call earned media. And it's awesome when it works because you have the potential of going viral, right, within your own specific industry. The second rule of influencer marketing is to be transparent. So if you do happen to create some compelling enough content that influencers share it, then that's great. But if you're actually paying someone to be an influencer, so for example, you pay marketing dollars for someone to recommend you or write an article about you, then you want to avoid any bad blood with the FTC and also with, potential customers by clearly disclosing that relationship with whoever that endorser is, that it's a paid advertisement. And so you'll see that often when bloggers and influencers are writing about a particular company, they'll call that out. All right, and last but not least, again, know how, when, and where to influence. So there's lots of platforms for influencers, but the primary platforms right now are the following. Instagram is probably number one. It's great for spreading brand awareness and getting your influencers audience excited about your company. Second would be Twitter. Perfect for increasing the conversation surrounding your company and its product, primarily because it's so easy to share and comment on content. Lots of influencers are super popular on YouTube. This is a video platform where the influencer or the business can build a subscription base with easily shareable links. And then LinkedIn is another top platform, great platform for thought leadership if people are doing consulting businesses. Here, influencers can talk up your company vision in a way that appeals to high-level professionals. And then last but not least, these influencers online, just like if your company or your brand became an influencer, they all have their own website and maybe they have an email newsletter. And so if you can get their type of attention, then they might actually link to you on their website or embed your content or information in an email newsletter that they send out to all of their subscribers. This is going to put your brand in front of that person's diehard readers, which is an objective for influencer marketing. Okay, so now that we understand all the various platforms that you can use to share content, now let's talk about developing or actually writing content and how you plan to publish that content, hopefully using a calendar. Okay, so the first step is to brainstorm content that is going to fit your brand persona or niche or company. And so do you have an online brand persona? Meaning when you speak to your audience online through whatever platform you choose to use, your website, Facebook, Instagram, what is your persona? Are you casual? Are you serious? Are you funny? Are you professional? Right? We all have sort of a voice or a persona that we use when we're writing about our business. And there's a personality that comes across. So you want to think about what that brand persona is. And is your content going to be a reflection of your brand persona? If so, how are you going to do that? So what questions did you have when you were starting in your industry? So now we're getting into what the heck am I going to write about, right? How do I actually develop content? And so here's some key ways. You can answer the questions that you had when you were starting in your industry. Because now, do you have the potential of answering them as an expert? What issues do your customers need addressed? Or what are your most frequent customer questions, right? You can develop a lot of content just around those standard questions that you get from your customers. This is great added content for your website. You could develop an FAQ page. It's also great breakout content that you could just feed into social media posts. Another question is, are there frequent changes in your industry? If so, are you a trusted source of information about them? So can you almost become a reporter for your industry where you're updating your customers and other industry professionals on what the latest trends, tips, techniques might be in your industry? So these are all just things you can brainstorm to figure out how to develop or what content you can develop. And so building on that, if you need more help brainstorming those ideas for content development, here's some quick tips to get you started. First is a theme-based weekly post, right? Like hashtag Wednesday warning. This might be keeping people up to date on industry news. I'm sure you've seen online hashtag, Throwback Thursday. This may be some type of funny post that you can do when you first started your business and you were hanging your sign, out in front of your store. Just anything that, again, engages the customer, but can be a consistent, regular thing that you're posting or adding content to your website around. You could also do how-to articles. You could do how-to webinars or videos. Case studies was one that we brought up earlier. You could do a product-related success story or a success story about a particular customer, a service success story. You could develop business-related infographics, around your industry, statistics. You could write a press release about something new and innovative that your business is doing. You could create a travel guide if that made sense, or a product how-to guide, buying and selling guides. You could develop an ebook. I mean, it's endless as far as ideas for content marketing. But a great place to start is just with what you personally know. So this particular list of resources is also on that handout, which is you can download from the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. And again, if you're listening to this webinar from our YouTube channel, just email us and I'm happy to send you that resource page. All right, step 2, after we've got some ideas around the type of content that we're going to create, now is to actually start building that calendar. So you want to schedule content anywhere between 1 to 6 months out. So 1 month is really the minimum. And you're scheduling content for social media as far in advance as possible, and then you can add to it as time permits. And this is because it's difficult for all of us to be consistent when it comes to posting, whether it's updates to our website or its actual social media platforms. And so if you can actually calendar this out into your business and kind of day-to-day life, then you've got a ready-made checklist of what you're doing for online marketing. Any types of large events that you might be planning, like a webinar or a Q&A interview session, an ebook or a big product release that you're going to do, or a conference or a trade show that you're going to be at, those things can obviously be scheduled sometimes up to a year out, but you want those scheduled as soon as you've locked down a date, because you can create actual events on different social media platforms like Facebook, right? You can tell your followers and customers that you actually have events coming up. So building out this calendar is key. It's important that you're sitting down at least once a month, once a quarter, reviewing that calendar and making sure that you're following up on how to build online content. So before any kind of posting, you always want to test that content before you actually add it to your calendar and before you post. So does my content match my content marketing brand profile that I've created? That's a question that you want to ask yourself, because it's easy to get in the weeds and kind of get off track when you're developing content. So you always want to bring it back to that ideal customer, that best customer, and make sure that you didn't take a left turn somewhere and all of a sudden you're, posting about zebras in the safari when your business is carpet cleaning, right? So bring it back and ask yourself that question. Does my content match my content marketing brand profile? Is my content interesting? Is it witty? Is it surprising? Is it funny? Is it thought-provoking? Is it new? Is it exclusive? Am I being engaging? These are all questions that you want to ask yourself. And remember that with the rise of social media optimization, which is a little bit different than search engine optimization, you want to ask, does my content encourage engagement? Is it going to encourage someone to share or comment or like, or heart, on my Instagram or Facebook? And then ask yourself the question, would I share this? If I saw this on somebody else's social media pages, would I share it? Do I think it's funny, right? All right, number 4, keep an eye on your surroundings. So you never want to rely on your calendar completely. because we need to look up every once in a while, make sure to check on current trends and take advantage of news stories that really resonate with your business or your industry. So watch your content analytics and make sure that just because something's on your calendar doesn't mean it's set in stone. So if it's not working, change it or pull it. And watch the movements of your competitors. Online marketing is an ever-changing world, so be sure you're watching your competitors for any new ideas or strategies that may also work for you. All right, so this is what a finalized content calendar could potentially look like. And so here's what you're seeing. The things that are highlighted in blue, these are like 3 to 4 long form blog articles per week. And we've already talked about how you can reuse content from longer blog articles or bigger, posts of content that you're writing, and how you can separate those out, chunk them down into smaller bite-sized pieces of content that could also be used in social media posting or even in email newsletters. The green highlighted sections, those are SlideShare presentations that would get built from blog research or case studies or other sources. And those SlideShare presentations could be on YouTube. It could be sent out through an email newsletter that somebody clicks on. It could also be posted to a website. The pink highlighted sections in this calendar talk about syndication of content to actual syndication sites. So again, on that handout that is on the right-hand side of your control panel that you can download, I've actually listed some of the sites that you can use to try and syndicate your articles or the content that you're writing. So if you guys have ever been to BizSugar or Dig or Reddit, these are sites that will actually repost your content, and they're called syndication sites. Again, may or may not make sense for your small business. These are just, I'm just throwing out ideas for things that may or may not resonate with you. And then in gray, you'll see that the gray sections here are all about daily comments on content from influencers around the web. That's going to help keep you in the conversation. So I want you to try and comment on 2 to 3 blogs each day. You want to write intelligent, insightful observations, asking reasonable questions, or even disagreeing in an informed and respectful manner. So commenting gets your name in an influencer's mind. So interactions on Twitter or Facebook are going to mean more, and asking for a share of your own blog will be better received if they know you've shared their stuff online already. Okay, in yellow, I've got biweekly infographic that's built from like blog research or case studies, statistics, or other resources. Again, this infographic is something I could share on social media posts. I could add it to my website. I could add it to an email newsletter that's going out. So I could use that infographic in a lot of different ways if that's something that I could develop around my business or my industry that gives out some valuable information. And then last but not least, I've also got teal, I think under the 10th of the month here, and this is a monthly ebook that would be built from longer form blog articles, and I'm planning on offering that ebook. It's going to be, on my website that will be downloadable, and then I'll create different social media posts that highlight that ebook that I could also send out as a link in an email newsletter. So if this content calendar feels more advanced than what you and your business are ready for, that's okay. I just want you to remember that your calendar can be as simple as just organizing the dates when you're committed to posting content to your Facebook page, or the dates that you're committed to adding a photo or a video to your website. The most important point is to get a calendar started and commit to posting some type of content consistently. And then you can build from there. All right, and then to wrap it up today, guys, I just want to go over the top 10 content marketing best practices. And so first is to deliver value at every interaction. Second is to create content that is specifically for your target audience. And so we talked about that a lot today, not only developing your own persona, but making sure that you have a customer persona that you're talking to. Number 3 is have a distribution plan that leverages your key channels. meaning what are the key online platforms that you're going to use, and then have a distribution plan, a calendar, right, that says this is when I'm going to post and this is what I'm going to post. And try to map that out at least 1 month in advance. If you could do 6, it would take a lot of pressure, off of you. If you would just sit down and build, it's really called a content marketing calendar, or editorial calendar is really where this concept came from originally. Number 4 is to focus on conversations. We want engagement and interaction online. Number 5 is sell subtly, right? No one wants to feel like every single post is pushing your product or service. So make sure there's a good balance to what you're posting online, and content is king, valuable information is king. Number 6, leverage user-generated content to engage and then reward users, meaning the communication. Number 7, experiment with different content formats, right? And see what things are getting the most engagement. We know that pictures are worth 1,000 words and videos are worth 1,000,000, right? So we know that video works, and people's attention span, shockingly, is now reportedly down to less than 8 seconds. So you have a very short window here in order to get people's attention. Remember that when you're posting. Number 8, personalize content for users. Number 9, solicit feedback from users, again, getting that conversation going. And then number 10, continually optimize your strategy and try new tactics. We don't want to be doing the same thing that we did 2 years ago. So keep an eye on that competition and make sure you're ahead. All right, so we are going to take some questions. And so as you guys think about what your questions are and start adding those questions to the question panel or to the chat box in your control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, I'm just going to go over who our funding partners are, so you guys can be thinking about what your questions are while I explain to you that the Women's Business Center is really made possible through lots of partnership agencies. Our primary funding comes from the Wyoming Business Council right here in the state of Wyoming, as well as the U.S. Small Business Administration, better known as SBA. And so, of course, we're thankful for the support and guidance of our partners, and we look forward to all the work we're going to be doing going forward. This is also contact information for myself and Waldo. We work on the microlending side of the house, but we also have other business counselors at the Wyoming Women's Business Center, Debbie Gorski and Jonathan. And so you can reach out to any of us for help and support with your business. And Waldo?
I do have a couple of questions.
How are we doing on questions? Go for it.
Got a couple here. This one's kind of long, but Carmen asks, if one has a business in planning and may or may not even open a business, but has started establishing sites like website, Facebook, Instagram, when is it too early to use them, and how much is okay to share without someone stealing your idea? For example, if you're documenting the establishment of your business, you probably wouldn't want to share too many details like logo development. I'd love to post different logo designs for people to comment on, but someone might steal my idea.
Yeah, all good questions. I think a lot of this comes down to the benefits of developing your brand early versus the potential pitfalls or detriments to people knowing about it. So, so to me, I would be thinking more about what is the value associated with developing your brand sooner than later. And I think it comes down to what type of business, right? If this is an online business, then starting sooner than later would be my recommendation, because you need to be building your online audience and your own personal profile for being an expert in this particular industry. So there's ways that you could develop content, around your own personal expertise versus the specifics of your business in order to start getting a following. However, if this is a brick and mortar store where you literally can't get any kind of sales until you actually open your door and you think you have an innovative concept that you want to keep under wraps and kind of generate some excitement around, then I might hold off on that and actually create a launch marketing plan so that it's organized and it's almost like a release date. So a release date, or it's building up to a grand opening, and maybe you start that marketing, 60 or 90 days in advance. So if you want to speak more specifically, you're welcome to reach out to me, and we can brainstorm on the best way to create a launch that's going to be effective.
I would say you could use like an email campaign to send out to trusted friends and family to get their feedback, or mentors, get their feedback on like logo designs and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, and some of those things can just be shared on your own personal Facebook page instead of a business Facebook page, so that you can get some general, feedback as you develop your marketing toolbox that you're going to create, but you're not necessarily launching it, to your future prospects or customer base.
The next question is, what have you found to be best methods for attaining feedback? This is from Deborah.
So Deborah, feedback on what? Do you think she means feedback on like best methods for engagement, like with customers on social media? Or do you mean
yes,
like or do you mean testimonials? She means feedback on social media.
Yes.
So number one rule of engagement on social media is you have to be responsive. So make sure that your Facebook business page is linked to your email account. Make sure you're getting notifications when someone posts to your page so that you can immediately respond. People are online right then. Their attention span is very short. So if someone does make a response, you want to make sure that you're responding very quickly to them. Thank you for the message. Let me answer that question for you, whatever it might be. So that's just sort of an etiquette thing when it comes to managing your social media page. As far as actually getting the engagement, it all comes down to creativity and wit, right? So shares typically come from humor. Right? The things that we share are either humorous or they're seriously newsworthy, that people feel like, oh, wow, this is important, valuable information that I need to share with my friends and family, or I'm cracking up and I want everybody to see this. So those are the two most popular types of posts that people actually share. Now, as far as starting a conversation, or getting someone to click through to your website, or getting someone to answer a question, right? These are all sort of different methods of creative posting. So posting polls or questions can often get people to engage. Posting discounts can often get people to click through, to your website. So you just have to think about what you would engage with and then test it out and see what works the best. So like the example I gave you with the ice cream business, right? Posting pictures from the kitchen and asking people, what flavor is this? For whatever reason, it was almost like a trivia game and people really liked it. So depending on your industry, depending on your customer base, you have to think about what is going to trigger them. And don't be afraid to ask your customers too, what they would engage with the most, especially if you're in a situation where you have a customer facing business and you're able to talk to people one-on-one, ask them what they'd like to see, on your Facebook page, or what would be most interesting to them. What do they look at business Facebook pages for? Is it discounts and offers? Is it events? Is it, answers to questions? What might it be?
Deborah says thank you. Not any more questions, and we're at the top of the hour, so I want to thank everybody for joining today. Our next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, February 25th from noon to 1, and the topic will be Let's Make a Budget, Personal or Business. something that everyone needs to consider from time to time. Look for our emails to come out for registering to this. And we also want to again remind you to take part in the survey as you leave the presentation today. That provides valuable information to us and our program funders. If you have additional questions or would like further assistance, please feel free to contact us. Our business counseling is free, and we would be more than happy to assist you. So with that, thank you, Christine, and thank you all for joining us. We will hope to see you next time.